This is what the layout was like prior to this expansion. Round Hill Bank was a 3% grade and too steep for some steam locomotives. To lessen the grade, I decided to add length to the incline by extending the layout to the west. This was the best plan I arrived at prior to construction. During construction, it occurred to me that what I had missed was an option to move the station building behind the tracks instead of in front of them like it had always been since the beginning. I would require a platform between the main line tracks, and as a bonus, I could add a siding along the front of the board. This is the story of the first phase of the transformation. Here I am, early in the morning, ready to start tearing into the old scenery. It's a little bit hard for me to do it. Put a lot of effort into this over a long period of time, and this was the first area that I actually landscaped. One of the other reasons I want to tear in at this spot is I want to get an accurate measurement of exactly the height difference. Since it's been buried, I couldn't really tell for sure what the difference in elevation was. But it's not buried anymore, is it? So I'll go through this away and come back, measure it. It might be 75 millimeters. It's all torn up, but the track part, got that torn up all the way around to the bridge over there. What I'm doing now is I'm laying out the track, and I decided to cut two pieces, same length, to put between the curves, and I used some of the old reclaimed track that I've knocked the, well, here's some I'm not done yet, but I'm knocking out the old ballast and trying to save as much as I can. Some of the pieces got destroyed while I was taking them apart. Let me turn the camera a little bit. Sorry for the jiggliness. Just trying to piece it all together and see where it's going to lay. I discovered these two short pieces of straight track right here were not parallel with the side of the table, so I thought I was going to be able to leave them in, but it turned out that they had to go. I discovered there's a limit how close the tracks can be, and when they're supported by these foam inclines. I mean, unless you wanted to overlap. So I'm going to go ahead and let the foam inclines set the distance between the rails on this part of the layout. Over here at the station, I can have them as close together as I want, as long as they're not going around a curve where they'll hit each other. I've had trouble establishing a straight line down this side, so I decided to resort to a chalk line. At least it'll be straight. I now have most of the track connected. I have a few pieces yet to splice in, but for the most part, it's connected and in place. In some areas I just stapled it down to keep it from jumping around on me. There's one. I found that it's a lot easier when you're cutting your track and setting it down for the first time. To keep it from jumping around, you either have to pin it with track pins, or I've found that it's easy just to staple it down, and so that way when you're trying to fit it, it doesn't just wiggle around. I have two of the foam inclines installed. Well, they're not glued down, but they're laid out to see how it's going to fit. And now I know how to cut the platform piece that will be raised above, this distance above the board, which should meet up with this one over here, which I'm going to have to cut off. I have a line where I intend to cut it. So I got it cut through with one of these handy gadgets. I've used this a lot on my layout, one of these vibrating saw things. Well, let's see if I can get this off. Oh, that was easy. There it goes. The next thing I'm going to have to do is, well, I've already done it. I've traced around the foam where it's going to be, and I extrapolated from this where that's going to be. Hopefully there, it's a linear progression. I took the foam up and I've made a stencil of where I think the foam is going to end, and I'm going to have to cut that out of wood so that I can build up this whole side of the board. I'm checking the fit of the raised portion and the cutouts for it, and I think that will work pretty good. Looks alright, looks like it's fitting up. This one's not as quite as good as the other one. Well, that's the last screw that I need in the raised area that will eventually support Shell Hill Station. The new Shell Hill Station as opposed to the old Shell Hill Station. Here is an overview of where I am right now. The expanded table is complete. Of course, I finished that last time. I have the riser installed that will support the station and the tracks. I have trial fitted the inclines and they fit the cutouts on the raised section. It is late now, so I'll have to continue tomorrow. Until then, see you later.